Welcome to the Connors Corner segment of Ask the Lawyer. You know, we've had a variety of guests on this show. We've had quarterbacks who've played in the Super Bowl, but as far as I know, we've never had a quarterback who played in the Grey Cup. So right now, we're very honored to have J.C. Watts. How you doing today, sir?
Michael, I'm doing well. How are you today?
Now, maybe that's not the best introduction because you served 4 terms in Congress and is a hero to a lot of us out here in the conservative movement. So you have a book out, Dig Deep. What's it about?
Well, Michael, it's really about just, I think, calling upon the best of ourselves, calling upon the best of J.C. Watts to, dig into the inner soul, to bring the strength and the strength to achieve and the strength to fight another day. It means summoning the better version, as I said in the book, Dig Deep. It means summoning the better version of J.C. Watts who lies within me and hurling him into the present battle. And we've seen people in business and athletics, politics, people of faith in every arena, call on their best selves and hurl themselves into the present battle. And I think in order to do life better, there's just certain principles that we have to apply that's woven into the fabric of the earth. And it doesn't matter if you're black or red or yellow or brown or white, man or woman, liberal or conservative. Those principles, again, are woven into the earth, and you have to apply them if you want to stand on the mountaintop. That's the reality of how it works.
Why don't you tell the listeners, where did you come from? Where did you grow up? What did your parents do?
Well, Michael, I grew up in the eastern part of the state of Oklahoma in a community of about 2,000 people. It's probably about 2,800, 3,000 people today at the most. And a little small rural community, conservative community. My father was a pastor, and I've been a youth pastor. I've been in politics. I've been in football at the highest level. I've sat on corporate boards of some very fine public companies. And the things that I talk about in the book, Dig Deep, are my lessons, my experiences, my circumstances, but it's in life, and we often find ourselves saying, "Lord, help me to do life better. How do I become a better husband, a better dad, a better employer, a better friend, whatever the case might be?" I just think there's things that we have to do that we can't escape, regardless of what party we're in or what our skin color. And I talk about 7 principles in the book, Michael, but 2 of them is, one of them I talk about overcoming adversity. I mean, my first election, I was elected to state government and found myself entangled in an investigation that I had nothing to do with, but my name was popping up on the news about 2 or 3 times a week. And I look back on that circumstance today, and I say, I don't look at what it did to me. I look at what it did for me. So our adversities, we can grow and learn from those adversities if we'll keep the right perspective about them. And I became a better person, and my faith was strengthened because of what that circumstance did for me. It was unfair, it was wrong, but nevertheless, I grew from it.
Why did you decide to go into politics? It's not a nice place to be sometimes.
No, it's not. But I do think, MC, if in politics, in my opinion, if you're doing it for any other reason to serve, you shouldn't do it. And it was about public service for me. My uncle was state president of NAACP for 17, 18 years in Oklahoma. My dad ran for sheriff and chief of police in in my little hometown and home county. And I think it should be about public service. It shouldn't be about building an empire, a political empire. It shouldn't be about, the cheer the crowd, which can be extremely intoxicating. It should be about public service. Can I add value? Can I help us get to the next level? And that's what it was for me. I said I was going to do it for 6 years. I did it for 8. But after 8 years, there was other things I wanted to do that I could do, and I moved on.
Now, it seems a lot of people in office today, they almost take it as a lifetime job, but you stepped away from it. Why?
Well, because, I think athletics taught me how to deal with the cheer of the crowd. There would be times I could go from being a hero to a goat in a matter of 1 or 2 plays. And so I learned to, I think, deal with the cheer of the crowd. And as I point to and dig deep, I've been in the arena. I've been in politics at the highest level, sports, college athletics at the highest level, played professionally in Canada, was actually drafted by the New York Jets. I was in youth ministry. I've been on corporate boards of some fine public companies. And in all of that, Michael, the cheer of the crowd is more intoxicating in politics than in any arena I've been in. And so if you don't know how to handle that, the next transition is going from being a political figure to grading your own test. And you know what happens when you grade your own test? You always make a good grade. And I think there's an anger in America today that I think Donald Trump has surely benefited from, and Ted Cruz has benefited from, and I understand that anger, but I hope that our anger doesn't drive us to the point that there's no forgiveness. We become selfish. We grade our own test. We don't want to be held accountable. We don't like to be corrected, because I think that leads to a greater travesty in our country than we're experiencing today.
Now, if there were a young person out there, why would you tell them? Why should you read Dig Deep?
Well, I think, in athletics, there are, in athletics, I was watching a special over the weekend, and I was thinking about my book. And when I talk about digging deep, as I said, it's calling on a better version of who we are, and throwing ourselves in the middle of the circumstance and never quitting. In athletics, we call it grit, and never giving in, and never giving up. Not wrapping ourselves in that blanket of victimhood. And Michael, we've all done that. I mean, that drinking from the cup of victimhood tastes really, really good. I've done it. You've done it. We've all done it, but we don't grow like that. So to those young people who would read the book, dig deep. If it's a young athlete, I would say, think the name Tony Romo, Warren Moon, and a guy named Kurt Warner. I mean, these guys were undrafted free agents. And, all three of them are going to end up in the National Football League Hall of Fame. They know what it takes to dig deep, to say, in spite of the fact that I was not drafted, that's not going to define me. I'm not going to be defined by my skin color. I'm not going to be. I saw a special on ESPN this weekend where a young man, he was disabled. He had no use of his legs from his knees down. And Michael, this guy was playing football. He said, I'm not going to allow my disability to define who I am. I'm not going to allow my skin color to define who I am, my circumstances. Our history need not be destiny. So that's the message to the young people. Say, hey, you can do it from where you are. Doesn't matter if you follow Nation 2000. You can do it from there. You may have to jump a little higher, run a little to work a little harder, spend a little more time in the classroom. But again, because of the principles that are woven into the fabric of the earth, applying those principles, hard work, sacrifice, commitment, determination, never quitting, because those principles are woven into the earth, you're going to be rewarded. You're gonna get there. So all of these things I talk about in Dig Deep, and that would be my message to young people, to Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives. It can work for all of us, but we have to apply them and be careful not saying, woe is me, I'm a victim, the system is against me. I even talk about how the system has been against me, and I don't say it to point to me being self-righteous. I understand that someone might say that. I talk about some experiences that I've had. I had a guy, when I first ran for public office, he said, people are sick of blacks and they're sick of football players. Well, I was both. He was referring to me, and he was saying that because football players at the University of Oklahoma in 1989 had been involved in a raping incident, a shooting incident, and the quarterback was on the cover of Sports Illustrated having been busted for selling drugs. That all happened, Michael, in a matter of 45 days. So now you had a former football player that's running for public office, and he said, people are sick of football players and they're sick of blacks. Well, I didn't like it. It stung. I thought he was pretty shallow. But, hey, I had a campaign to run. I felt like I could contribute. And not only was I elected to the statewide office, the first African-American in the history of Oklahoma to get the nomination by the major political party and to win, and then 4 years later was elected to Congress. So, don't let those kind of things define you. Don't allow your disability to define you. Don't allow your skin color to define you. Don't allow, we like to, drink from the cup of victimhood by saying, well, I'm a Southerner, I'm black, or I'm this, or I'm a woman, or I'm that. When we do that, that won't allow us to dig beyond those superficial things to do what needs to be done to get us to where we're trying to go.
The name of the book is Dig Deep: 7 Truths to Finding the Strength Within by J.C. Watts, a man who selfishly, I think a lot of us wish you were still in the Congress, but we wish you well. Thank you for what you've done. God bless you.
MC, thank you, buddy, for having me on. You're very kind.